Are we heading into a 2025 recession, or are we simply stuck in a fragile slowdown that feels like one even if economists refuse to label it that way? That's the trillion-dollar question weighing on households, businesses, and investors everywhere. The headlines are split. The IMF projects global growth around 3% this year, calling it resilient but fragile, while the New York Fed's models flash as high as 70% odds of recession. JP Morgan has lowered its risk forecast to around 40%. So who's right? The truth is that definitions matter less than lived experience. Families already feel like they're falling behind. Businesses see costs climb while sales stagnate. Investors feel like every rally could be a trap. In the United States, consumer confidence has fallen below 100, showing that people are losing faith in jobs and income growth. Household debt has soared to a record $18.39 trillion, with more than 4% of that already delinquent. When credit cards and car loans start defaulting, that's not just noise, that's the canary in the coal mine. Inflation, though down from its 2022 peak, is still sticky. The OECD expects average price growth across developed economies to hover around 4.2% in 2025. Think about that. Even if you're earning more, inflation keeps eating it away. That's why so many households already feel like they're living in recession conditions, and the pain points go deeper. Sticky inflation means the price of essentials never actually drops. It just rises slower. Groceries, utilities, healthcare, education, rent. None of them are reversing course. Elevated borrowing costs pile on top of that. Credit card interest is averaging above 20%. Mortgages remain expensive enough to push millions out of home ownership. Landlords pass through higher financing and property tax bills to tenants. Small businesses, the backbone of employment, face their own squeeze. Margins shrink as financing gets pricier, customers cut back on extras, and inventory turnover slows. Globally, the story isn't much brighter. Political instability in Europe has dragged consumer sentiment lower, with leaders warning of possible contraction. Tariffs and trade disputes increase costs across supply chains that never fully recovered from the pandemic. And while central banks talk about resilient growth, families and firms see resilience as simply surviving another month without falling behind. Recessions aren't just about GDP, they're about psychology. When consumers doubt the future, they stop spending. When businesses see weaker demand, they stop hiring. This feedback loop turns forecasts into reality. That's why the smarter question isn't, will there be a recession? But how do I prepare for the pressures that are already here? Preparation begins with households. Your first line of defense is liquidity. Build 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account, even if you can only move a small amount each week. Every dollar counts. Attack high-interest debt with urgency. Killing a 20% credit card balance is like giving yourself a guaranteed return better than any investment. Audit your bills, insurance, phone plans, subscriptions. Every negotiation or cancellation frees cash that strengthens your buffer. But don't just save. Diversify your income. A side hustle, tutoring, or freelance work is not just extra cash. It's insurance against layoffs. Upskilling is equally powerful. Focus on fields that remain funded during downturns: automation, compliance, healthcare, repair, and data. These are industries that protect income even when the broader economy stumbles. For small businesses, agility is the key to survival. Stress test cash flow under scenarios where revenue drops 10 or 20%. Decide in advance which costs to cut so you can act decisively under pressure. Clear out slow inventory and repackage it into bundles that convert into cash. Shift heavy purchases from capital expenses to leasing or usage-based services to keep flexibility. If credit markets are still open to you, refinance debt now and extend maturities before they tighten. Diversify your customer base so no single client makes up more than 20% of revenue, and look to add counter-cyclical services like repair or compliance that remain steady when discretionary spending falls. Investors, too, need discipline more than prediction. Focus on companies with durable balance sheets, strong free cash flow, and the ability to raise prices without losing customers. Shorten bond duration to reduce interest rate volatility, and consider inflation-protected securities to hedge persistent price pressures. True diversification means mixing quality, value, and minimum volatility factors, not just spreading across sectors. Practice dollar-cost averaging to turn downturns into buying opportunities, and rebalance portfolios regularly to keep emotion out of the equation. Above all, set a risk budget for speculation so that a single bad trade cannot derail your long-term wealth. The reality of 2025 is that whether or not we meet the textbook definition of recession, the economy is already testing households, businesses, and investors in ways that feel recession-like. Record debt, rising delinquencies, falling confidence, sticky inflation, and shrinking margins form the backdrop of this fragile cycle. But history proves that downturns don't destroy everyone. They punish the unprepared and reward those with discipline. If you control your cash flow, upgrade your skills, build customer resilience, and invest with structure instead of emotion, you'll not only survive, you'll emerge stronger. That's the hidden truth about recessions. They are painful, yes, but they also reset opportunities for those who have prepared. And if you found this breakdown valuable, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who needs these insights, and hit subscribe. Because in an economy this uncertain, knowledge is the best hedge you'll ever have.